So my name is Dan Flanegan. I'm in the product group at Qualcomm in the XR business unit. And we work building Snapdragon Spaces, which you probably heard some about from Steve Lucas today and also during the keynote sessions. You know, the group's really focused on bringing augmented reality experiences to life, and doing so by exposing to developers a lot of the perception technologies that Qualcomm has developed over the years, and getting that via our SDK into the hands of developers. Let's see if we can forward the slide. So, as we know, AR is still, to some degree, in its initial stages. We've learned a lot over the last 5 years, namely that for AR to work and for AR content to work, it needs a content ecosystem. And developers need access to the ecosystem without constantly having to redeploy or redevelop their applications and knowing the best practices across multiple platforms. And that's something we're trying to solve with Snapdragon Spaces, where our mission is really to create a development platform where developers can build AR experiences for our entire ecosystem of both OEMs and operator partners. So the goal and what we've really initially focused on with the AR form factor, powered with the Lenovo Think Reality A3 AR glasses and the Motorola Edge Plus mobile phone, is an SDK that leverages OpenXR to enable this cross-platform integration and development. So we had announced that we had some early developers that had been developing on Snapdragon Spaces. So for the past 8 months or so, we've been working with some of these early access partners, and we're really excited to have a few of those partners with us today, at least Javier to get things started, to talk about building AR apps on Snapdragon Spaces. So Javier is the founder of Overlay, and I actually met Javier in a previous life when I was at Clay Air, which was an AR hand tracking company that was acquired by Qualcomm. And I saw, and he had given me a demo on a different platform of his Figment XR app, which was a cross-platform AR app where users can create, they can collect, they can play with holograms and do a whole bunch of interesting things. I remember even being in my home office, I think it was probably on an Nreal device, and picking up an object, throwing it down the hall into the dark, and seeing it bounce around the corner with occlusion and everything working incredibly well, and was just really impressed. So, learning that he was part of our early access development group was very exciting. So, I think we're going to start off with kind of chat here with Javier, and then we'll jump back to our other guests when they arrive. So. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Figment and what it is, because you're the creator.
Does it work?
There we go.
Okay. Yeah, so Figment XR is a peculiar kind of app. Before I tell you what it is, maybe I can tell you how it came to be. Basically, as humans, we like to engage in certain activities for entertainment in our daily lives, For example, we like to create, we like to make stuff, right? So once we have made that stuff, what do we do with it? Well, we like to play with it, we like to collect it, right? So I bet you, each and every one of you here, you either like to create, collect, or play at something, right? We're human. So how do I bring these activities that we do in our corporeal day lives into augmented reality, right? So that is how, the answer to that question is Figment XR. It's a peculiar kind of app because it's multi-purpose, right? There is no we're used to apps that are for this, that, or that other thing. And this one is pen and paper, What's the use case of pen and paper? Well, we can be here talking about that all day. So, okay, what is it? So, it's an app of apps, okay? It's an app that contains other apps and web services in that, hey.
Everybody, sorry we're late.
Yeah, no problem. So, yeah, it enables you to create, collect, and play. So how do you create? Well, for example, we have the easiest way to do it is, you type by searching. You can search Jiffy, you can search Sketchfab, you can search YouTube, bring those assets, combine it into a scene in AR. Easy, because I forgot to say, it's a consumer application. It's not for professionals. So yeah, that's the easiest way. So my grandma can do something. She can make me a birthday card, okay? Then I said we have apps. You guys heard that Tilt Brush, open source, right? Okay? I brought all of Tilt Brush as a built-in app. So it's not only all of that, but I built a lot more. So we can do a lot more than Tilt Brush ever could. And in addition to that, you have what I told you. We also have a voxel editor. I don't want to stretch it too long, but that's how it started, right? We have a physics editor. We have a text label editor. So you combine all of these things, and you can create really awesome things. And, if you want to check it out tomorrow, I'm going to be at the booth. I can give you demos. But yeah, in essence, it's an app of apps. And, as I started making it, it ends up that I kind of start making a little tiny operating system. So I call this kind of app a meta app because, it sits between, operating system, this thing, and then apps. So, it's the way I look at it. And the purpose of why I'm doing it, right? That's also important to me, is that I believe that AR is a green technology. And I've said this before, and people give me weird-eyed looks. But I feel maybe now that time goes by, not so much. But I am trying to make an app that lets you discover this, that realize that AR is the greenest tech we've ever made. Why? Because it allows us to replace physical objects that otherwise we would build and throw away. So I believe AR is going to change us as people dramatically, and for the good. So that's my driving force, believe it or not, environmental. So anyway,
Awesome.
I've spoken too long.
No, it's okay. I have to say, your app is one of the apps when in meetings and you give demos to people, they put it on and they kind of get stuck inside starting to be creative, and it's tough to get them to take off whatever device they have on. So wanted to welcome and introduce Tom and Jonas here. So they made it. They're with forwARdgame, and they're going to be talking about, and I'm going to make sure I'm always kind of, it's either Flink AAR or Flinker, which I thought, I was hoping it was a kind of a little play on words there. So maybe, you guys have maybe unique experience also when it comes to building this. Maybe explain a little bit what the game is, and then the fact that you built this game from the ground up on Spaces, and what was unique about that. But first, just tell us about the game itself. Give us some grounding. Switch on there.
All right. Hi, everybody. Sorry we're late. It's just 12 hours of flight and 2 days of no sleep, so forgive our glitches, because there might be few. But we're here and we're really happy and we're thankful and proud to be here in AWE. And thanks, Qualcomm, for having us. So, by the way, listen to your last few words about how environmental and green your reasons to do this are, and that's something that we're definitely going to discuss a lot, I think, in the next few days, because I personally totally agree with it. But yeah, Flinker is a game we thought about when we started kind of brainstorming together with you. And the point of Flinker, by the way, the AAR stands for Active Augmented Reality. That's something that forwARdgame really stands for since we started the company a few years ago, and that's something that we saw it in front of our eyes as how we want to drive the future in our small contribution and that's to create AR that will be active, not just in the screen, not just by tapping and seeing something, but actually interacting with it. So what we did here is being able, together with the amazing Snapdragon Spaces hardware and software, being able to create this game that you can just take the dragons. So yeah, that's the one, the red one there. Basically, it's one of the dragons. There are multiple color dragons laying on an island, on a magical island somewhere, and you're just coming to them with the glasses, and you, one of them basically chooses you and goes with you to a magical adventure where you go through magical portals, and anything you do will be active. So if you, for example, control the dragon, anywhere you go with your head, he turns. If you need to make kind of head gestures to control something, to approve some menu functionality, it also goes with that. And anywhere you go, either with your head or with your dragon, you collect the crystals. For example, that's what we created. That's what you can come and see tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. And yeah, it's basically a beautiful, we hope, a beautiful experience of magic and dragons and a lot of activity. So in 2 minutes of playing it, you're just as if you were in an actual island and back, you know.
So what was, and sticking with you guys, what was your process when it came to building a new game, and given the features that were available with Spaces as an early developer, what was your process in kind of going through and figuring out, you know, an ideal user experience and building that on Spaces?
First, we checked what are the capabilities of the Snapdragon Spaces, and we've figured out, okay, the tracking was very stable. We had for us it's really important because, like Tom said, we have a lot of movement in our games, so we need the tracking to be really precise. And then with the newest update, we also have the anchors coming in, the AR anchors, which lets the objects be sticks the object to the AR space. So we move around, we run around even, and with the anchors we know, okay, the stage is always where we want it to be, and that was very important for us. Also, now with the newest feature that came in is the controller. So we have 6 degrees of freedom controller. We use the smartphone as a laser pointer in our app now, so you can control you can place the center, the game center on your floor, and then the island pops up at the space, and with the anchors it stays at the space. So very good for us, because we want to, what we try to do is to connect the real world and the digital world, so to make make it a seamless experience. And for this is really important to have this seamless tracking. So you walk around the island and it feels like you're walking around an actual object in the space. Yeah, I think so. That was our key process. And
we can talk all day about it.
Yeah.
It's really not a problem.
Sure.
After a few months of development, no problem to finish a day with amazing experiences about it.
Awesome. Javier, I know that you had originally built Figment for other devices. Do you have any, maybe you can talk a little bit about your experience porting over to Spaces, and also give any advice to developers in the room who might have applications they've built for other devices and they want to bring that over to Spaces.
So yeah, we are in Magic Leap, we're in HoloLens, we're in Tilt 5, we are in Unreal Light, we are coming to other platforms, and so I've done this before, let's say that. So the thing is, most manufacturers, they have their own APIs and their own ways to, that you build software for. And that's okay, it's fine. I architected things for that. But the interesting thing, when I was porting for Snapdragon Spaces, is that they're using OpenXR and embracing it. and also embracing AR Foundation from Unity. So frankly, it was super easy because you know who else does that? Microsoft. And I am in HoloLens. So, you know, yeah, it was work to get things running there. But, you know, when coming to Snapdragon Spaces, you know, they launch new features and I'm ready for them, you know. They're like, hey, could you add anchors for AWE in like 2 days? And like, I'm going to check that. And then like I look at the code and, oh, I've done this before. Sure, here's the build that they after. So I appreciate that a lot, and I think your developers will too. So you don't have to go through what I have to go through to support multiple devices. So yeah, sweet.
Yeah, and Tom and Jonas, when it comes to someone who wants to maybe build on AR for the first time, any feedback or any thoughts or tips or tricks that you would want to share?
Well, first of all, it's a company that really stands for AR for a few years already, and we've been, you know, going through a lot of experience curves, learning curves around the years with software and hardware. And first of all, I mean, it's important to say that this is definitely the best so far. So everything we've done in Spaces, especially in the couple of last few months with all the updates, it's just incredible. So it definitely, you know, we feel more secure to say, yeah, you should come and try. But everything in AR is first of all very exciting and very new, and still very, you know, in some kind of still in its beginning, even if it feels like it's been forever that we're doing it. But it is still in its beginning. So it's an amazing journey for the entire world that will take a few years. And I think it's very important to have patience, to have the passion for it, because you need a lot of it to deal with AR, because it's not easy. But I think the most important thing is to, if you have the set of skills, of course, if you're trying and you're really developing, just don't give up, because everything, you know, everything is basically a learning curve, as said. So if it doesn't work like this, maybe it will work differently, and you keep trying, and then it works, and then there's a magical island full of dragons. Yeah.
Awesome. Since I know we're probably coming up pretty soon on about 5 minutes left or so, what I wanted to do, because I really think you guys are the stars of the panel, is to open this up for questions, so we don't have to crowd up here and see if there are any questions from the audience for the developers. And if not, you guys can ask each other questions. But does anyone have a question? Yeah, or if you want to ask the audience questions.
I've got a mic here if anybody has a question. I won't make you get up and walk to the mic.
Hello. Tom, I just have a question regarding the Dragon game. Like, how's your experience using the phone as a 6DoF controller versus like what you originally envisioned it to be? Would it be like a hand tracking experience versus like a more handheld type of controller?
I step in here for the technical questions. Yeah,
Got it.
I developed the game. So initially, when we didn't have the controller, we thought, okay, how can we integrate something so that the user can like give a confirmation input or something. So for this, we invented, I say now, maybe somebody does it before. I did it before. We have like text messages popping up, and the users can dismiss them after reading them with head tilt. So he just tilts the head to the right, and then we have a small bar which moves then to the right, and if the angle is reached, then we can dismiss it. So we have like a input where the user doesn't have to look somewhere else. That's always the problem. If you have the glasses and then you have an input on the controller, then you have to move your eyes from the actual AR thing that you see down to the controller, which is like a little bit like disconnection. like disconnected because immersivity, we want to have an immersive experience. So whatever distracts the user, pulls him out of this immersivity. So we try to like keep them there, and we now use the controller for like stuff that we can't do without external input. So if you have to point somewhere, like with the laser pointer, to place a game area center, for example, that's not possible with just like a head input. So it's good to have like multiple options always, and also give the user the option to either tilt the head or use the hand, whichever is more comfortable. So empower the user to let them use how they want to be.
I'm going to kind of put Javier on the spot for your question as well to some degree, related to hand tracking. So I know that I'm sure you're looking forward to having hand tracking on Snapdragon Spaces, but just curious how you've handled both, having a user experience that is, phone-driven versus hand tracking, and kind of how you've managed some of that, because you've done some very clever things on the hand tracking side. I know.
That was probably the hardest thing I had to solve, because some manufacturers, they go with motion controllers, others go with phones, and other ones go with hand tracking. So that was a lot of time of just being blocked. And like, how do I design a control mechanic that can work with all of these things? So I came up with something I call the contextual hand user interface. And it's designed to be able to work with hands, motion controllers, and phones. Like I said, tomorrow I can show you. Yeah, personally, I think hand tracking is the future. And is that me? Ooh, that's great. Spam. Thanks. Yeah, hand tracking is the future, in my opinion, right? So that's where I focus most of my development and my attention. But it doesn't come so quickly. So it's good to have interactions that are multi-platform.
A few minutes left. Any other questions? At least one more question. Someone be brave enough to.
Here you go.
We'll give you the mic.
Yeah, this is a question about the Dragon game. I don't know how intensive, how computationally intensive your application is. Just based on your experience, where do you see in the whole sort of the end product where the bottleneck would be? Is that communication between or was like a phone was the limiting factor, getting hot, using a lot of battery, or there's just no limitation given your application it is?
There are certainly limitations. Battery strain is one of the limitations because AR is very intensive. Also, you have to be careful what you want to render, because you also have you have to make certain
Trade-offs?
Trade-offs, yes, exactly, because I'm not sure how the technical side is, but I can imagine you also need like 2 pictures to render, like in VR, which is like double the render performance. So you always have to like keep trying out. Okay, this works in AR, and then you have too much particle effects or something which didn't work, and then you always have to find a balance. And like which this new tech, you always like there are no like documentations in the internet because it's all new. You have to figure it out for yourself then, but like lots of trial and error, I would say.
That's why we like working with you guys, because you're doing all the trial and error up front, and yes, and helping us make this even better. So if everyone give these gentlemen up here a big round of applause for being with us today. Trying to keep this on time. We are going to be, I think there's a slide up here. We do know that the Spaces SDKs are now available. You can go register on the portal if you haven't already. at spaces.qualcomm.com. We're in booth number 105. You can try out these demos along with some other demos tomorrow in the booth, running on the Lenovo glasses and the Motorola phone. And thank you all for coming today. Really appreciate it.